Alright, a very good afternoon to our viewers who are joining us this noontime session. As you're taking yet another look at an English practice paper, this time coming all the way from the west, we have Nan Hua Primary School 2023 end of year examination paper for Primary 5 English language. You're looking specifically at paper 2 on the language use and comprehension components of the paper. So good afternoon for all of those who are streaming in. Perhaps some of us who are coming in from right after school has just ended for some of us. Or not only school ends this early, but okay, before we dive into today, we're taking a look at 4 different sections in this paper as a brief outline for those of us who are viewing. We'll start off with the grammar section first. We're taking a look at the 10 grammar MCQ questions where we're refreshing and practicing and applying our basic grammar fundamentals and skills. Before moving on to our vocab section will comprise 5 MCQ questions followed by the 5 vocab close questions. Okay. We'll proceed then with the grammar close. Out of 15 options, you have to list down 10 of them in the blanks provided for our grammar close, before wrapping up today's noontime live stream with our editing passage. Okay, any questions before I begin? As always, if you wish to secure a copy of this set of notes for yourself, we do not directly provide it on our website, but I think all of you are resourceful enough to be able to get your hands on a copy of this. Either find it physically outside, along where vendors usually sell it, or I'm pretty sure you can find an online copy of it as well based on your resources. Okay. So once you're ready, let's get started without any further delay. Let's start with 10 grammar MCQ questions first. And the first one is already quite tricky. Okay. This first question is something that has tripped many students up before. Word of advice for those who are taking exams, exam techniques. If you come across a question that is pretty difficult for the first question, please don't hesitate to skip the question, because all the MCQs carry the same mark at the end. If you spend too much time on the first question, you may not know if you got the mark, and you have less time for the rest of the questions. Okay, so as always, remember to keep an eye on the clock. Always spend your time carefully. If you think you cannot solve a question quickly or you're not confident with it, skip the next questions, skip to the easier and simpler questions first, so that once you have enough time after checking your work, you can return back to this first question and give it your best shot. Okay? That reduces the opportunity cost of not doing the other questions. Okay. Do we conduct tuition from 𝗓𝗓s or 𝗓𝗓s? Yes. Hi Arts. Yes, we do conduct tuition on our website. As you check out our bio and our link tree, we do conduct tuition, but for today's live stream, it is free for public access. So feel free to join in as well for today's live stream. Okay. And not only for today, for tomorrow as well as for other days of the as well as for other days of the week, we also have regular live stream sessions that are available to the public for free. Okay, so please feel free to join in throughout the week, especially in the evenings when you have finished your school, you have finished your CCAs. We usually have our live stream sessions then as well. So you can join in, see our other teachers tackle a host of difficult and popular questions. Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Yuki, for the assist there. Yes, we do conduct tuition, face-to-face tuition as well, not only on live stream. So you can feel free to message us to find out more. And I understand you're on the west side. On the west side, thankfully, we have many centers that are open on the west side. We have 𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗖𝗓, which is we have 𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗖𝗓 branch, which is the first writers award tuition center that's ever been set up. So you can check out the 𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗖𝗓 branch for the papers. Okay? And many Nan Hua students, which is the focus of this paper over here, attend the 𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗖𝗓 branch. Okay. Along the way, also in Bukit Timah, we have King's Arcade. So if you're interested, you can also check out the classrooms there. That is the biggest center, I believe, with a total of 8 classrooms in King's Arcade spread across 2 buildings. Okay. Fun fact for those who are just joining in, or you have never come across Writers at Work physical centers before, King's Arcade's classrooms are split across 2 different buildings. You need to cross the road to get from one classroom to the other. Okay, so quite interesting for some of us who haven't visited there before. 𝗓𝗓𝗡𝗖𝗓, we also have quite a few classrooms there, so feel free to take a look. First question. if you are not skipping this question, you should try to attempt it. This is a question based on question text. Father gave us the permission to go cycling, blank, but Michael asked his brother. Okay. So this is a mixture of a few different types of question and exam techniques. First thing you should notice is that are the open and close quotation marks. Okay. When you have open and close quotation marks, they are direct speech. Okay. And since it is direct speech, everything that falls outside of these quotation marks can be safely ignored. So from Michael all the way to the brother at the end of the sentence, you can safely ignore it. It will not affect the rest of your question. So this is the first step that you should be taking over here. Otherwise, the additional information that you leave inside might distract you from the true answer. Okay, so first step, remove it from consideration so that you don't get distracted by it. Focus only on what's inside the open and close quotation marks. We see, father gave us the permission to go cycling, blank, he. In the first half of this sentence, we have the verb. The verb over here is gave, right? To give someone is the verb. Who is the one giving permission? That will be father, right? Father is the one giving permission. So the one who gives permission, the one who carries out this verb, this action over here, is your subject. Let me move this out of the way because I think it's getting in our path. Okay. Father is the subject of the sentence. Okay. This might be a bit tricky to some of us over here. You might know subjects as what you take in school. You have English, math, and science. However, in English sentence construction, the subject is the character or the person who is acting out the verb. In this case here, father is the one that is doing the giving of permission. So he is the subject of the sentence. Father gave us permission to go cycling, blank, he. Okay. This second half over here needs to be filled in with a question tag comprising two parts. You have a verb and a subject. Okay. In this case here, the subject refers to father. So any pronoun that refers to father, a masculine pronoun would give you the mark. Okay, we see our options over here. We have he, right? He is the masculine pronoun relating to father. So that is correct for the subject portion of the question tag. How about the verb portion? Okay. For the verb portion, it's slightly trickier. It's not as simple. Okay, two rules to take note of over here. First rule, it needs to be a verb of the same tense. What do I mean by same tense over here? Looking back at the verb in the main statement, we have gave. Looking back at the verb in the main sentence over here, we have gave. What verb tense is gave in? Gave is in the past tense, alright? So that means the verb in the question tag must also remain in the simple past tense. Not past perfect tense, not past continuous tense, but the simple past tense. Okay? First important rule to take note of. However, your work is not done. You still have one more step to follow along. Second rule you need to follow, it must be the opposing action. What do I mean by opposing action over here? In the main statement, we see gave. Gave is the past tense of give, right? So he did give permission. Past tense, remember? Take note, because it's a past tense, so you should be using did. Did give. The opposite of did give would then be did not give. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? The opposite of giving permission would be not giving permission. Okay, so that's what I mean by opposite action for this rule over here. Some of you might learn it differently in your own schools. Your own English teachers might teach you as positive versus negative, but the same rule applies. Okay, whether it's positive, negative, or opposite action, the same logic over here. If it's the main verb is did give, the opposite will be did not give over here. Okay, the opposite would be did not give. So that would leave us with our answer over here for did not. Among the four options, which of these four options present the idea of did not give permission? See some answers from the chat over here. Okay, right, that would be option 3. Didn't he? What's wrong? Didn't he? Okay. So for those who have gotten it right, well done. For those who are unsure how to tackle this question, I've just broke it down into very simple and yet very regular steps that you can go about to solve this in your exams. Okay. So if you need to take this down, you can take a screenshot of what you see on the page over here. But my recommendation is after this live stream, you can always rewatch it on YouTube. We upload all of our live streams on YouTube afterwards. Or you can refer to your own print screen or screenshot of this page over here. After live stream, go back, write down this rule by hand. Okay? Research has shown that by writing things down by hand, it enforces it into our muscle memory so that we remember concepts better. That's why when you take down notes, it's always best to write it down in your notebook instead of just printing it out for online copies. Okay? So if you can, always transfer these notes by hand in your own notebook or your own revision papers so that you can refer to them and also learn these concepts and apply them in the future. Right? Any questions about this first question? Okay. Certainly not an easy one. So exam technique wise, if you are struggling with this question, don't spend any more time than you have to. Move on to the next question, alright? Because there isn't a high likelihood you get it right if you're already struggling with it. So move on to the next question, which carries just the same amount of mark. And I would say it is even easier than this question, much simpler than this question. Okay, question 2. My cousins introduced a friend of blank to me during a barbecue. Okay, what do we think over here before we get started unpacking the question? Now the ball is in your court. Viewers, which option do you think it is for question 2? Which of these four options are used for question 2? Okay. In this case here, okay, everyone got your final answers locked in? Alright, okay, so let's unpack this question together. My cousins over here, my cousins tell us that this will be in a third person, right? My cousins is not I, it's someone else, so it's in the third person. You're looking for a third person pronoun, so you have them and their among your options. All of them are fine for now. Introduce a friend of blank to me during a barbecue. When do you use their? When do you use them? Okay, good question. Their and them. In usage in a sentence, there is commonly used for possessive pronouns. Okay. Possessive pronouns are used to indicate ownership. Okay. This is their water bottle. This is their seats. To indicate ownership, who is in charge of or who is the owner of something. On the other hand, them has a similar usage but quite different in structure over here. Them is used as a pronoun for a verb. Them is used for the object of the sentence. Okay, so what is the object of the sentence? The one that receives the action. Okay. In this case over here, you're looking at the friend. The friend belongs to, or rather, it's a friend of my cousins, right? The friend is a friend of my cousin, not of me. So their friendship belongs to my cousin. The friendship belongs to my cousins, not me. So it should be looking at option 1 there. Okay, so we can eliminate 2 and 4 over here. Now there and theirs, how do we use them? There is for the singular. Theirs refers to the plural over here. Okay, maybe that's not the closest, that's not the most precise definition. Theirs is used in reference to the subject of the sentence. Okay. Theirs is used for the subject of the sentence over here. So that is where we use option 3, theirs. Any questions? Now, question 3. Question 3 is a preposition question. Depending on the familiarity with the language, it can be an easy question or a tricky question. So let's take a closer look. Preposition questions can often trip up students who do not use the language too frequently. Our art teacher instructed us to cut blank the dotted line to get a perfect circle. Okay, what do you think our answers are for our viewers in the chat over here? Okay, I see the chat is quite active, so feel free to type in your answers. What do you think the correct answer would be? Okay. Ducky has an answer. Okay, Ducky has a very cute emoticon with what looks like a smiley face trying to punch someone with their fist raised. Okay, Ducky has option 3 inside. Do we agree with Ducky over here? Okay. So to cut blank the dotted line, based on the instruction for the rest of the sentence over here, following the dotted line, right? To follow along with the dotted line. So that would be option 3, to cut along the dotted line, to follow the dotted line to get a perfect circle. Okay, so well done, Ducky, for getting the right answer. Okay, I don't have the soundboard here, but next time, if you get a soundboard with a quack on it, we'll sound out the quack. Question 4. Sarah, please pass me blank books on your table, Jim requested. Okay. So again, like what we saw in question 1, for those of us who are here with us all the way from the beginning, when we come across direct speech, what do we need to do? Okay, Ducky quick with the answers, but let's see. When we come across direct speech, what should we do with the question? Okay, when we come across direct speech, which is indicated by the open and close inverted commas. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for the. Okay. Please pass me blank books on the table with direct speech over here in the open and closed inverted commas. Everything that falls outside of the closed inverted commas can be safely ignored. Okay. The reason why we ignore it is not just to strike them out. The reason why we ignore it is also that so that it does not distract us. it does not give us false hints or false information about finding our answer. Okay, the last thing we want to do is to get tripped up by these traps over here. So always, for the peace of our mind, safely cancel out the rest of the words that do not fall within the close inverted commas to make sure that you do not get distracted or confused by everything that falls outside of it. So let's just focus on what we have over here. Sarah, please pass me blank books on your table. Firstly, we see books as our object over here, right? Books tell us it is the plural. And since it is a plural, we can safely eliminate options 1 and 2. This and that are both referring to singular nouns. Okay? Singular nouns. However, since we know books with an S behind it refers to the plural noun, we should be using options 3 and 4 that both refer to their plural forms. Okay. Now the question remains, when do we use these? When do we use those? Okay. We might have an instinctive understanding of how do we use this. But these and those are used for proximity, or rather nearness, okay? To make it slightly simpler, whichever is nearest to the speaker. These are used for those that are nearer. Those are used for objects that are further away from the speaker. In this case here, to distinguish whether or not these books are closer to the speaker or not, Jim, in this case, let's take a look at the sentence, right? Please pass me blank books on your table. So this tells us that Jim is unable to reach for the books by himself, hence the books are farther away from him, so we should be using option 4. Okay? Those books on your table. Right, well done, Ducky, for getting the right answer as well. Yes, books are indeed plural. These, those, but for proximity. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Very, very concise and very detailed description from, very detailed explanation from Ducky. Okay, for how do we use those and when do we use these in a question. Okay. As always, if you wish to take note of this point over here, you can always take a screenshot, but my recommendation is after live stream, make sure you take it down by hand as well. Okay, transfer over your notes to your own revision paper or to your own notebook by hand. Question 5. Question 5 is a tense question. Okay. You would think this is a giveaway question, right? We learn about present tense, past tense in primary school. Primary 1, primary 2, we learn about present and past tense. You would think this is a giveaway question, but then you'd be mistaken. This is actually one of the trickier questions for this paper because some students are unaware of a secret rule behind this. Okay? We cheered Betty on as we watched her blank past her competitions, right? Especially with the recent Olympic Games having concluded, we've watched our national athletes competing in many events, including swimming. Okay? So we cheered Betty on as we watched her blank past the competitions. Looking at the verbs over here, I have an answer from Jin Yong. Oh, Jin Yong. Hey, Jin Yong, welcome. And Ducky as well. Okay. Let's say level 1 student, right? The average student out there, they see the verbs cheered with an ed and watched with an ed. These are all verbs in the past tense. So as the rule of 3 goes, right, you see 2 verbs that are already in the past tense. Does that logically mean that this should also be in the past tense? Is it as simple as that? Not quite. Okay, let's hold our seahorses for a moment. Let's take a look at the second verb we have over here, watched. Okay, use a different ink. I don't want to cross paths here. Watched is known as a verb of perception. Okay, right, this sounds like a pretty scary term, verb of perception. Well, I've never seen this before. What does this mean? Okay, verb of perception refers to verbs that relate to your 5 senses. Okay, your sense of sight, your sense of smell, your sense of touch, your sense of taste, and your sense of hearing. Right. Okay. So when you have a verb of perception, what follows it no longer obeys the verb tense of the sentence. Okay. What follows it must be the base form. Okay. Okay. And it's correctly pointed out by yes, keep it up, Ducky. Yes, indeed, keep it up, Ducky is correctly pointed out by Ducky. The infinitive of swam over here would be the base form swim. Okay. Swim past her competitions. Okay. So you need to use the base form of the verb over here between swim, swam, swam, and swims. Although swims over here refers to the singular verb, it is not the base form. The base form is option 1, swim. Okay. So well done, Ducky, and well done, Jin Yong. Okay. Jin Yong. That's a familiar name. Okay. I know a Jin Yong who collects Pokemon cards in the class. So I don't know if it's you, but if it is you, hi, welcome for joining in. Okay, that is it for question 5, as well as our first set of 5 grammar questions. Any questions or any clarifications we need? Okay. As always, if you wish to, you can feel free to take a screenshot of this page, but my advice is always after a live stream, you can always rewatch reruns of our live stream on YouTube and our social media channels. If you are interested in taking down these notes, my advice is to go back after live stream at your own writing speed and pace. Take down these notes by hand. Okay, your notebook, on a piece of rough paper, on your revision practice paper, wherever it is, make sure you transfer over the notes by hand. Alright, research has shown that writing things down by hand allows them to be better embedded in your memory and ensure that you can apply these concepts in the future. So make sure you do this after the live stream. Alright. Okay, no further questions. Let's proceed with the next set of 5 grammar questions. Question 6 is one that can be particularly tricky for some of our students and some of our exam takers as well. Jacob, as well as Benny, blank ready to perform at the graduation ceremony next month. Right off the bat, we see next month over here. Next month tells us this is something that will be happening in the future. It isn't happening, it hasn't already happened, right? So which two options can we safely eliminate or cancel out because we know that this verb needs to be taking place next month? Which two options do we know are safely wrong? Right, our our assistant moderator over here, Ducky, coming in with the clutch over here. Was and were are safely eliminated because they are both referring to the past tense. Okay, so you can eliminate was and were because they are referring to the past tense, but next month tells us there's something taking place in the future. Now between is and are, that is the question, right? Do we look at the singular or do we look at the plural? Okay. Singular and the plural. When do we use is? When do we use are? Depends on the subject of the sentence, right? So we go back before the blank over here. Our subject is Jacob as well as Benny. However, when you see after Jacob, what comes right after the word Jacob? What mark do we see? Okay, Jin Yong has an answer in, and Isha has an answer in as well. Blue and ducky also are joining in. Okay, so it seems to have a mix of both singular and plural subjects. Right after Jacob, we see a punctuation mark that we recognize very well. It is the comma. Okay, and as well as Benny is followed by another comma, right? Okay. So this is a special case in English when you have a noun. In this case here, the noun is Jacob. Jacob is a person, right? He's a noun. Any information that follows after the noun is wrapped up in two commas, it is additional information about the noun over here. It provides additional information. If any of our viewers joined in for our earlier reading room session on 1984, we also talked about this concept about the Ministry of Truth with additional information. So when you have additional information over here, it is unnecessary. It is optional to the noun. It doesn't provide additional information about who Jacob is. Okay, so we can safely cancel out the information over here because it doesn't matter in this question. It is unnecessary over here. Okay. So if you have to boil down the sentence to its most important parts, it will just be Jacob blank ready to perform next month. And since Jacob is just one person, singular, okay, Jacob is singular. Okay, lots of arrows flying everywhere, but this will be the last one. We use the singular verb of is. Okay, so well done for those who have joined in very actively over here. For Ducky and for Jin Yong as well, getting the right answers. And Ducky, yes, okay. Ducky, do you have my lesson prep with you? Right, because it seems like whatever you're saying, I'm also going to touch on that right next. Okay? So this is what is known as an addition distractor. I don't know how Ducky has hacked into my lesson notes, but this is exactly what I'm going to talk about right now. This is an addition distractor. There are other forms of it also. For example, you have a subtraction distractor. For example, all of the students except for Jacob, right? All of the students except for Jacob, that's a subtraction distractor. But regardless whether it's addition or subtraction, when you have a distractor, it serves to pull your attention away from what's truly important, right? To get distracted is to not focus on what's truly important over here. When you come across distractors, make sure you cancel them out so that you do not fall prey to these tricks over here. Okay? So important, make sure you cancel out your addition distractor. Focus only on your main subject, which is Jacob over here for your singular. Okay, right. So well done. Thank you very much for the active participation and Ducky also. Right. Thank you very much for that clarification. Okay. For Blue and Isha, is it clear why the option here is option 1 is? Okay. For Blue and Isha. Alright, so once again, please do not hesitate to send in your answers whether or not it's right or wrong. If you got the right answer, good, that means you're on the right track. If you got the wrong answer, that's even better because that means this is a learning opportunity for you. After today's live stream, we confidently say that you have learned something new, you managed to address one of your previously held blind spots, and now you're able to move forward and maybe even score better because now you have an additional tool in your arsenal over here. Okay, so if you got a wrong answer, take this as a learning opportunity to improve your English language and to apply and practice these skills the next time you try them out. Okay. Yep. No worries. Thank you very much for the clarification and for the active participation as well, Isha. Okay, next question. This can be a bit tricky. Blank his injured ankle. He was not able to complete the race. Blank his injured ankle. Unable to complete the race. What we have over here is the cause or reason resulting in the effect or the outcome. So you need to introduce a conjunction over here that explains a cause to an effect. Okay, I have answers from Smiley Face with a very cool looking profile pic, and Jin Yong also with 2 answers coming in. Due to, exactly right. Due to is used to introduce a reason or to introduce a cause to an effect. Okay, due to the reason his injured ankle, he was not able to complete the race. Question 8. Question 8 is a quantifier question. It is not particularly tricky, but it is extremely popular. I would be willing to wager that among all of your WA questions, at least one of it will be a quantifier question, right? In fact, for last week's live stream, for a few students that had their prelims recently, they are telling me that they also had a quantifier question. Regardless of which school they came from, they all had quantifier questions in their grammar MCQ. Okay, so make sure you get this right because it is not difficult, but it is very common. You can be very sure that you might see at least some variation of it showing up in your MCQ, whether or not it's your WA, whether or not it's your prelims, or even for PSLE. Okay, so make sure you get this simple question right. Don't lose marks on questions like these. Since, okay, back to Isha over here for question 7. When do we use since in a conjunction? Okay, since is used dating back to an event over here. Okay. Since an event occurred, since something that had previously happened. Okay. However, if you have to use since in this sentence, you have to rephrase it to since his ankle was injured. And then moving on with the rest of the sentence. Okay. A slight variation of the first clause of this sentence, the first part of the sentence over here, using due to when the injury or the cause is the subject of the sentence, using since when you're writing it in the passive over here, since his ankle was injured. Okay, does that answer our questions for question 7? Okay, question 8. So back to a quantifier question over here. As blank of the work had already been done, our help was not needed. In this case, you're looking at the noun work. First off, work as the noun. Is it countable or uncountable? Is this a countable or uncountable noun? Okay, Jin Yong has this answer in. Has their answer in, sorry. And Ducky also. Right, work is uncountable, right? What do I mean by uncountable now? You do not say I have 1 work, 2 works, 3 works to do, right? You just say I have work to do. So it's an uncountable noun. So on the topic of uncountable nouns, okay, on the sliding scale of uncountable nouns, when you have a small amount, a tiny amount of uncountable nouns, a tiny amount of work, you use little, right? There's little water left in my water bottle. Okay, there's little time left in this exam. So uncountable nouns, a small amount would be little. On the other hand, all the way to the other extreme, we have a large quantity, a huge quantity of an uncountable noun. You use much. Looking at this question over here, the work had already been done. Has a small quantity or a large quantity of the work had already been done? By reading on, we know that our help was not needed. Our help is not needed because the work has mostly been completed, right? Does that make sense to everyone? By reading on to the rest of the sentence, our help was not needed because the work has mostly been completed. So a large amount of it has already been completed. So we will be sticking with option. We'll be sticking with option 4, much. Okay, so well done for Jin Yong Ducky, Jin Yong, Smiley Face, and Ducky for getting the right answers and joining in the chat also. A large amount of an uncountable noun has already been done, so our help was not needed. Okay. On the other hand, there are also countable nouns. Right? Uncountable nouns do not exist by themselves. They also have countable nouns. For a countable noun, a small amount of countable noun is few. For example, I have to take few subjects for school, right? In PSLE, you have to take your 4 core subjects, and additionally, if you have high mother tongue, you have to take it as well. You only have a few subjects to take for PSLE. Okay? However, for these few subjects, there are many worksheets to complete, or there are many topics to learn. Okay? Many topics. So many referring to a large amount of countable nouns. Okay? So is this distinction clear for everyone over here? For countable nouns, few for a small amount, many for a large amount. And for uncountable nouns, little for a small amount, much for a large amount. Okay, so once again, this is a very common question. It's not particularly tricky, but it is common, so make sure you get it right. Okay. Question 9. Question 9 can be tricky. This is a modal question. What is a modal? A modal is used to affect or to influence the intensity or the meaning of the verb that follows after it. What is the intention of the verb that follows after it? Okay. You blank have washed your own cutlery after each meal to reduce my washing load. Kelly grumbled to Lily. Okay. In this case here, Kelly is expressing a dissatisfaction to Lily over here about Lily not washing her own cutlery after each meal. So in this case, our verb is have washed. Jin Yong has an answer in. Jin Yong has indicated their answer of could. In this case here, you could have washed your own cutlery. When do we use could? Could is used to indicate an ability. You could have done this. You could have washed the cutlery before to reduce my load. Okay, so you have the ability to do this. You should have done this, right? Would refers to a future hypothetical or a prediction. A future scenario. Okay, by the time we have finished our live stream, we would have completed all of our grammar questions. So we would have future scenario. Okay. Now must and might. Must is used for necessity. You must do something, or something must be done. Okay. And finally, might. Might is the past tense of may, right? May is used to indicate permission. You might have had this exchange with your English teacher before in school. You ask, teacher, can I go to the toilet? Teacher will say, yes, you can, but no, you may not. Okay? Yes, you have the ability to go to the toilet by yourself, but you may not have my permission to leave the class to go to the toilet. Okay? So might is used for permission, while could is used for ability. Okay? You might have washed your own cutlery. Might could be used also. For Brandon's response over here, could you use might in this sentence? You might have washed. I'll find it a bit difficult to accept might as an answer over here. You might have washed your own cutlery, because in this case here, Kelly is not expressing or granting permission to Lily over here. She's not the dishwashing emperor or king of the house, right? She isn't giving Lily permission to wash the cutlery. Rather, she's grumbling, being sarcastic over here, right? Nagging Lily, telling Lily that you could have done this by yourself so that I don't have to clean up after you. So in this case here, the intention is much stronger linked towards Lily having the ability to wash the cutlery but choosing not to do so. Right, does that answer Brandon's question? Okay. Brandon and Wei seem to be on the same train of thought over here. Both are going, Okay, so maybe we can address that later on. Let me finish question 10 first, then we can recap all the questions on this page. Okay, yeah. Alright, Thank you very much, Brandon. Finally, question 10. Okay, look out, Isha. If Isha, you're still in the comments over here, question 10 says we see this is where we use since at the start of a sentence, right? Going back to question 7 just now. When do we use since at the start of a sentence? Is when it's in the passive voice. Okay, since the visit to the veterinarian, I blanked my dog for daily walks, and it is healthier now. I will continue this exercise regime if I enjoy it well. Since my visit to the veterinarian, I blanked my dog for daily walks, and it is healthier now. It is healthier tells us that this sentence is in the present tense. So already, since it's already in the present tense, we can eliminate options 2 and 4. Okay. Option 2, had taken, is in the past perfect tense. Option 3 over here, past perfect tense, along with the continuous tense, had been taken. Okay. This is not in the past tense, this should be in the present tense. Okay, now Daki is the answer in along with Budak, Tafis. Tafis is the answer in as well. Wei, Wei in. If Wei would like to weigh in with their answer. Between take and have been taking, take is your simple present tense. And as correctly pointed out by the imposter teacher in the chat, sorry, no offense, sorry, not just kidding, alright? As pointed out by Ducky in the chat, have been taking over here is your present perfect continuous tense. Now, when do we use simple perfect tense? When do we use a present perfect tense? Okay. Simple perfect tense refers to actions taking place in the present, while present perfect is used to refer to an action in the present that takes place prior to another action that is already happening in the present. In this case here, it is healthier now. This is your present tense, right? This is your simple present tense over here. My dog is feeling healthier now. Okay. Why is my dog feeling healthier? Because I have already been taking it for daily walks before it became healthier in the present. Okay. So since this took place before my dog becoming healthy now, this must be in the present perfect tense. Okay. So this should be option 4, have been taking. Okay, so present perfect is your answer. And okay, let me address some of the comments later on, but I'll follow on with a discussion first. Why is it in the continuous tense? Okay, we've settled the present perfect portion. Why is it continuous, right? Maybe that sounds a bit sarcastic. Continuous tense are used for verbs that are not concluded. They have already started in the past, they are still ongoing in the present and have not been completed yet. In this case here, I started doing it in the past, that's why my dog is healthier now. So that is correct. It is still ongoing. It hasn't ended because I will continue this exercise regime. Okay? I will continue doing this, so it's not stopping anytime soon. I'm still going to let this continue, so it should be in the continuous tense. Okay, right? So that is why we use option 4, have been taking. Okay. So now let me unpack the comments over here. Alright, okay, viewers, let's not gaslight each other in the comments, alright? The world is tough enough as it is. Let's not gaslight each other into thinking we got the wrong answer. And 4. You're right, it's okay to make mistakes. Right, okay? Right, so you're definitely right, as Tafis has pointed out as well, it's definitely alright to make mistakes even if it's unintentional. For careless mistakes, it's just another reminder for us to be careful. Once you've understood the pain of making careless mistakes over here, you never want to relive it again, right? So always be careful with your checking your work. Okay, let me just correctly annotate these portions over here since they are in the past tense. Okay, and with that, that brings us to the end of our second set of 5 grammar MCQ questions. Any other questions you'd like us to explore or delve into for this portion? Okay, as always, if you wish to, please go ahead. Please feel free to take a screenshot over here. Please feel free to take a screenshot if you like, but as always, I always recommend that after the live stream, go back and transfer over your notes to a practice paper or to your revision notes or to your notebook by hand. Alright, it's important to be able to write out and apply these skills in practice. Okay. Let's go to S&T, says Ducky. Okay, great question, Ducky. S&T, let's go to S&T. So far in our grammar MCQs, we already see some of the techniques we've used in S&T, right? In terms of sentence conjunctions, in terms of direct speech, all these play a part in S&T. Okay. For today's paper, we'll be going in chronological order, so we'll be proceeding with the MCQ question section first before heading on to S&T in the second half of the paper for booklet B of your paper 2. But if you're interested in S&T, we have some detailed practices and videos available on our social media platforms on TikTok and YouTube. And as well for, okay, let me confirm this. Okay. Right, later on today, I think teacher Jia Jun will be coming in. And you can ask teacher Jia Jun then if there will be S&T section for them. Alright, okay, so we're looking at S&T forms for some of our grammar fundamentals. Okay, right, for now, let's move on to vocab. And yes, Brandon's still on question 9. Might is like questioning. Yeah, you might have wished. In this case, if might is trying to be sarcastic. If Kelly is trying to be sarcastic with Lee over here, yes, she could have used might. But in this case, that isn't really the case. She's just being a bit more direct with her dissatisfaction. Okay, so yes, let's embark on to vocab. Depending on your familiarity with the language, some find vocab to be easier than grammar, some find vocab to be more difficult than grammar. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's see which side of the coin we might land on today. First question. David and I had arranged to play football in the field last evening. Unfortunately, the plan blanked when it started raining. These 4 examples over here are what we call phrasal verbs. Okay? Verbs, as we all know, verbs are actions, right? So phrasal verbs are phrases or short sequences of words that are meant to be read together as a single action. They form one action. Okay? They combine together to form a single action. The first one, fell in. What does it mean to fall in? Okay. If our viewers or any viewers in the live chat over here, to fall in, to assemble. Okay. P5. This question vocab time. This one for sec 2. For risky, this is a P5 paper over here, but most of the concepts that we're discussing through will still be relevant, especially for secondary school, right? If you're in secondary school and you're writing your informative writing, right? You have your argumentative essays or your discursive and expository essays. You also need to take note of using sophisticated vocabulary. You cannot be relying on primary 1, primary 2 language to bring across your points. Okay? So it's important to use a judicious use of phrasal verbs, idioms, and figurative language to bring across your point, especially in secondary writing when there are high expectations for the advanced writers. Okay? So definitely useful for risky as well. Some of us have a bit difficulties. Okay, for those of us who are in uniform, who have been in uniform groups in CCAs, or if you have served your national service, to fall in is to assemble, right? Together. To assemble or together. Okay. Anybody in the chat over here are in uniform groups like Scouts, Girl Guides, Boys Brigade? Okay. Right. Exactly, fall in line. To fall in line is to gather in line, to put on united front for a certain position or opinion. How about fell off? What does it mean to fall off? Literally, it could be falling off a cliff. That is true. However, fell off has a different definition when using it as a phrasal verb, not merely on the preposition side. To fall off is to decline or weaken. Okay, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, at the height of the lockdown, Among Us was a very popular game, right? Among Us was a very popular game, but after a couple of years, it started falling off. It started declining. It started to weaken. Okay, so now Among Us is not as popular a game anymore. I think now the popular game is Roblox. I think Dress to Impress is quite popular on Roblox now, right? Dress to Impress. Okay, so to fall off is to decline or to weaken. Right, Wei is in SPF, right? I'm sure your commanders also tell you to fall in sometimes, right, Wei? Okay. Yep, then you have to gather quickly and fall in line before you get instructions. Okay. To fall out. What does it mean to fall out? Okay, now you think in and out have opposing meanings, so to fall out is to split and to spread. While that is true in some cases, falling out commonly is used to talk about being in an argument, to have a bad relationship with. Excuse me, sorry. Right, so for example, if two friends had a falling out, right? If you fell out with your friend, you're no longer friends anymore. Okay, so that is to fall out with somebody, to argue with, to have a disagreement with, such that you end your relationship with them, to fall out. And finally, to fall through. Now, of course, you could fall through a hole on the road, but of course, to fall through also has a different meaning when you look at a phrasal verb. To fall through is to fail. Okay. To fall through is to fail, not to succeed. Okay. And now looking at this question over here, David and I had arranged to play football in the field. Unfortunately gives us a clue about how the plan turned out. It started raining. Now, you shouldn't really be playing football in the field outdoors if it's raining, right? So unfortunately, the plan did not go through. If the plan did not go through, that means the plan failed. Yes. Yes. Fall through can be used in different situations. Yes, depending on the context way, you could say that if you accidentally tripped and you fell through something, that is definitely possible. But for the phrasal verb, the meaning of the phrasal verb over here, to use them together, to fall through would be plans that are failing, plans that are falling through. Okay. So this is perhaps something that some students might get tripped up by. These are some common verbs that have common prepositions behind it. For example, to fall off, I fell off a cliff and got injured. Fall out, you think you fell off a coconut tree, right? A very popular meme that's going about now these days. To fall out is to fall off of a surface as well. To fell through, you fell through a hole or you fell through an opening or a gap. Okay, so these are all words that can be read individually as a verb followed by a preposition, but they also take on a different form as a phrasal verb and read together, right? Fell through as to fail, fall out as to argue with, and fell off as to decline or weaken. Okay, I'm not using that. I'm not using Roblox language. I'm not using Gen Alpha language here on this live stream. Okay. Question 12. They found a blank beach where they could enjoy some privacy and relaxation. Okay, so these are 4 examples of adjectives. Okay, Didi Doctor, Didi Doctor is back. Thank you again for your concern. Let's go to risky for this one, right? Risky, what do you think is the answer here? all four of them seem to have overlapping meanings, but risky, what do you think this answer is if you're asking it for this at the Sec 2 level? Ducky, Wei, and PD Doctor have locked in their answers, along with Tafis has locked in their answer as well. Okay, and okay, I don't interrupt that little thing that you have going on with Yuki over here. But let's go through each of these words over here. When do we use barren, secluded, restricted? Okay, off the top of our heads, the first one we can ignore is populated. Populated, that means crowded, right? A place that's populated. This doesn't make sense when you talk about somewhere with privacy and relaxation. Okay. If you're trying to have some private space, you're trying to relax, you wouldn't want to go somewhere that is too crowded and too noisy, right? The last thing you want to be is to have your rest interrupted by noisy people around you. So you wouldn't go somewhere that is populated. How about barren, secluded, and restricted? Something that is restricted, something that is blocked off, or banned. Okay. For example, if you are traveling into Singapore, there are restricted items that cannot break into Singapore, right? So restricted items are banned items. In this case, is this beach restricted? Hopefully not. Right, if it's restricted, that means that they are breaking the law by trying to trespass into the beach over here. So this isn't quite the meaning of the sentence over here. We have now come down to the two answers over here, barren and secluded. Okay. Barren and secluded both have similar shades of meaning over here. Barren is used to refer to places that are lifeless. It is used to describe maybe, for example, farmlands, right? Fields that are barren without a single plant in sight, a barren field or barren grassland. While secluded has a meaning of something that's slightly exclusive and closed off. Okay. Something that's a bit more closed off, a bit more exclusive, not for everyone. Okay, not everyone has access to it, it's not for the public. It's slightly closed off and exclusive only for those who are able to find it. And in this case over here, the one that has the closer meaning about a private beach to relax in, to enjoy some privacy in, would be option 2, a secluded, closed off beach. Okay, not so much a barren or lifeless beach. Okay. Any questions for question 12? Okay, before I move on to question 13, let me address some of the questions in the chat over here. What time does this live end over here? Okay, so because of our noon time schedule, for this live for today, we have a noon time live from 12 p.m. to 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. Okay. Right now, this current session that you're watching right now spans from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Okay. After 1:30 p.m., unfortunately, I'll need to take a break because, as you can hear, my condition isn't too great, and I also need to go have my lunch. But I'll be back in the afternoon. I'll be back in the afternoon at 2:30 p.m. to 4 to carry on where we'll leave off later on. Okay. I'll be back later on at 2:30 to continue on with the following questions. Okay. And then for our evening session for today, I believe teacher 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗃 will be in at 4:30. Okay. 4:30 onwards will be teacher 𝗖𝗢𝗡, right? 4:30 and onwards. So we have after this session we still have 2 more for today, and then next week tomorrow we'll also be following the same schedule. So morning reading room session, and then 3 sessions in the afternoon for tomorrow, Friday. Okay, so Thursday, Friday, same schedule for today and tomorrow. Okay, so we wrap up today with this final question. Wrap up this with a final question over here for question 13. Yeah, okay, everyone's asking me to eat porridge. Do you all see the weather outside? How hot it is to eat porridge? Okay, I'll try to be healthier. Go for lunch, buy bubble tea. Alright, Wei, you get. Okay, I'll try to find bubble tea for Wei. Okay. And question 13, last one for today, before we wrap up and we go for our respective lunches. Upon realizing his mistake, he felt bad and immediately apologized to his friends. Okay? Context clues are very important over here. If someone is apologizing, that means they feel bad, right? They feel bad, they acknowledge and they recognize that they have made a mistake or they have committed a mistake in the past. Hence, they have chosen to apologize and to admit their wrongdoing over here. So among these 4 mistakes over here, these 4 words, adjectives over here, which adjective carries the idea of expressing regret, expressing guilt? Excuse me. It would be to be remorseful, right? To express remorse. To be remorseful is to express regret or guilt over a wrongdoing you have committed. Or regret. Dejected is used for sadness and misery, being upset. However, this isn't a case of just feeling upset or feeling blue, right? It goes beyond just feeling upset. He's feeling personally responsible for his mistake. So it's not just feeling sad, but feeling regretful, feeling guilty for it. Okay, so a slight differentiation over here between dejected and remorseful. I won't be taking bubble tea orders. I'm not Liho or Gong Cha here, okay? I'm not taking bubble tea orders here. Conceited feels defeated. Is it? Conceited is not quite defeated. To be conceited is to be arrogant or stuck up. Okay. To be arrogant. I think the word you're looking for Wei is a similar word. Let me just separate it. Called conceded, right? If you enjoy watching sports like football, right? The goalkeeper conceded a goal. To concede is to let in or to admit defeat. You concede defeat. To surrender. Okay, so yes, a very similar sounding word, but be careful of the different meanings. Okay. And finally, exasperated. To be exasperated is to be frustrated, to be losing your patience. Okay. For example, when I'm talking about vocabulary and people ask me about bubble tea and 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗡, it can be a bit exasperating. Okay. But kidding. All jokes aside, thank you very much for the active participation and also your concern. And I hope through this session also you've learned something useful about the vocab words and definitions for our options. Vocab is a section that I think is most useful for going through because while only one of the options is correct among the 4 for each question, you never know the next paper you see or next question you see whether or not this question or these words might show up again. So I think vocab is definitely one of the more useful and productive and definitely most rewarding sections of the paper over here to get right. Okay. Any questions? Okay, any relevant questions about the paper for now? Okay. Otherwise, as promised, he has participation marks also. Participation marks for DD Doctor. Okay, yes. Okay, otherwise, as promised, I'll be letting all of us off for our break for now. We'll be back in an hour's time to tackle the rest of the questions in this paper. Okay. So stay tuned. Go have your lunch, get yourself refreshed, or carry on with your additional work. I hope to see everyone back for our afternoon session later on. Bye bye.